Hi.
Hi.
So we're here and we're going to hang out, and this is my first time meeting you, and it's a pleasure. I've heard so much about you. I'll start with asking you, how did you become the most successful investor?
God's grace and elders' blessings.
God's grace.
Absolutely. I think we are Rakesh Jhunjhunwala is Rakesh Jhunjhunwala, not because he's Rakesh Jhunjhunwala, because God has chosen him to be Rakesh Jhunjhunwala.
That's an interesting statement.
Absolutely. I think what we have in life, always, whatever it may be, finally we need God's grace and elders' blessings.
So, I mean, I heard that you started off with just a small amount of money, and then you created such a massive amount. You really think that was God's grace, or do you think that you studied a lot and
I mean, it could not have come without hard work and, ambition. I would say the ability to face failure. And doing things in a rational manner, and always using the right means for the ends. I believe I may not get my ends, but I should never change my means. And I think finally God's grace and elders' blessings.
Do you have an obsession with money?
I don't think so.
No.
I'm essentially a middle class person. And I have far more wealth than people, far less wealth than people think, but far more than I need. The wealth also has a purpose in society.
That's true.
And I have a very simple wife. She also doesn't need much money.
Oh, that's nice.
So we don't need. So if it goes up and down, doesn't make much difference. Only the hunt is more interesting than the play.
That's the thing. Because I always wondered, I'm like, people who are so successful, how did they become so successful? That passion and drive, is it for money, or actually now you said it's the hunt?
See, I will be lying if I say it's not for the. It's not that it's not for the money, but it's not primarily for the money. It is for the right. The market is there. Somebody has said there is a difference of opinion which makes markets interesting. You say A, I say B. It proves I feel very happy when I'm proved right. When my opinions are, are fortified or are reflected by the market. So I think as I told you, markets are very interesting. They are like humans.
Yes, you did.
Always commanding, always mysterious, always uncertain.
Yeah, very
always volatile.
Volatile, correct. Yes, I will agree with that. We're interesting, moody creatures. I mean, I have so much to ask you. I don't know if you're going to tell me everything. I want to know some secrets or some tips, but I'm not sure if you can give that a...
Ma'am, I unfortunately, especially to a pretty woman, I have to say that tips are hazardous for health. You can't make money on borrowed knowledge. But
That's true.
If you invest some part of your money in the stock market, I surely help you.
Are there any? It's not like you can tell a layperson to read some books and they might get an idea. No, not really. You won't gain all that knowledge just by reading a few books, or.
Well, I won't say anything is impossible, but see, I needed no money from my father. Of course, it was all his blessings, and so I had no money. But therefore, I got the capital to trading, and then I invested. So I do two activities: trading and investing. Trading is extremely difficult, and I think 1 out of 5 million is successful.
Interesting. And it's so, I don't know how old you were when you took that amount that you did and invested, like your first investment.
No, I came to the stock market I was 25.
Oh wow, it's very
It's been a 27-year experience.
Wow, that's...
But the quest to learn is a journey, not a destination.
Really? So, were you before 25 and before your first investment, you were already into learning and studying and trying to understand?
I used to look at stocks from the age of 13.
And who got you into it? Was there anyone that...
Well, my father was interested in the stock market, and at a young age, some are interested in, planes, some are interested in being doctors, some are interested in journalists, all are interested in girls. I was fascinated by the stock market. I saw that India was doing really, really well. I don't know if that was a golden period or is a golden period coming, or how do you see the market? Explain it to me. I'm a lay person. I don't really understand. See, where the stock markets, India, the prosperity of the Indian stock market depends on the prosperity of the Indian economy. And I believe that India's growth is inevitable. We are having some kind of a correction. And what is India? India's chaos, but it's organized chaos.
Right, it really is.
And it is a talented society, multicultural. We have the most favorable demographics in the world. Then we have good skills, good entrepreneurship. And all this cannot be reversed.
Right.
So I am very bullish on the market. I think the golden period is still ahead of us.
Okay. So I've also noticed like Western companies coming into India. Does that help to increase the market value as well?
It helps to increase economic city. India has got a large population.
Right.
Indians consume a lot.
Okay.
So all the Western companies want markets.
Right.
How many burgers will McDonald's sell to Americans? They can eat 2, 3, 4, 5. They can't eat more than 5 burgers a day.
Right.
So they need new markets.
Right. Correct.
And that's why they come in and they add to economic prosperity. It's a win-win situation both for the country from which they come and for the Indians.
But it also makes the Indian companies want to compete as well, right? And to create,
and we will compete.
Yeah, companies like, was Walmart supposed to come here? I heard.
Yeah, they have not come until January.
Yeah, why? There should be an Indian company.
You ever shopped at Walmart?
Yes, I have. That's why I was wondering, like, in Bombay, I feel like, hey, there should be a one-stop shop for everything.
There are so many, you don't know them.
Okay, so I want to ask, why are you bullish on retail investments?
Because India has a very, India has a very large retail market, and a very small part of it is organized.
Okay.
So a lot of companies now, there will be first of all, retailing business in India says $400 billion today. Oh, wow. By 2020, it's supposed to be 1.2 trillion.
Wow.
Or 1 billion to, 1,000 billion to 1.2 trillion. And the shift to organized retailing is going to be big.
Right.
So it's a big opportunity.
So later you tell me what I should keep an eye out for.
Sure.
Also, I find it quite interesting that I found out that only 3% of Indians are invested in Indian stock. Is that true? And that's less than the global average. So does that mean that people outside of India are investing in Indian supplies?
No. India also, 3% of Indians, but a lot of Indian institutions, insurance companies which are invested.
Okay.
And a lot of money is coming from abroad. Okay. We have foreign institutional investors.
Okay.
Money from America, England.
Yeah, actually, while I was in America, before I came here, I invested in a global market fund, and India.
Really?
I decided to put a lot in Indian companies than in the U.S.
I hope you made some money.
I don't know. I got to look. I'm very terrible with that. So let's see. Maybe I'm going to look when I get back home. They saw my Kingfisher picture, and then they started writing me, and I was living in Copenhagen. He said he would like to meet me, so I said, okay, fine. I just made sure that he's legit. I didn't want to think he's some psycho killer or something. So I went and I met him, and he told me a story, and we got along very well. And he said, why don't you come to India and give it a shot?